right, here we go. Here we go. We're talking Taylor Swift because today I'm in a mood to talk about Tyler Perry or drama shows. Sometimes I like to dip my toe in the realm of hot topic items that are going on in the news or pop culture and what's been going on for quite a while. The battle between Taylor Swift and Scooter in regards to the rights to the masters for her the first 5 albums she did, and self-titled, I believe, Taylor Swift, Fearless, Speak Now, 1989, and Red. I forgot where Reputation falls in that list, if that was a Big Machine. No, I think that was on Big Machine, so I think that, yeah. And then, of course, Lover was the first one from the new record label that she's working with. So at least I don't think I missed any. But in any case, it was sold for $300 million to Shamrock Capital. And now people are wondering, what's going to happen now? What can Taylor Swift do to potentially get them? But it doesn't seem like she will if Shamrock doesn't sell. And my biggest thing is, I remember this was, hot topic news about 4 or 3 days ago. And, just as a person looking from the inside out, from the outside looking in, it's easy for a lot of people. Oh, she just playing the victim again and this and that. And my thing is, Taylor Swift is not the first artist to talk about the agonizing experience of trying to own their masters, and she certainly isn't going to be the last. I'm not going to say that it doesn't hurt, because imagine spending years crafting together some not just hit songs, not just songs that put you on the map, not just songs that brought you fame and fortune, but songs that were a part of you because you wrote those from your own life experiences and whatnot. But not to sound unsympathetic or a cold-hearted, bastard, but once you sign on the dotted line, that's the way it is. Like when people say her masters and whatnot, and I'm thinking, again, not to sound vile or cold-hearted, but they aren't hers. She signed the contract, and the masters were not hers. Now, yes, it sucks that she wasn't given the opportunity to purchase her masters. Now, that I do agree with. That does suck. But once you have something, you can pick and choose who you sell it to. Sometimes it isn't always about the money. Sometimes it's about strategic purposes. Like, I feel like if I sold these to so-and-so for like $25 million while you're offering me $30 million, I feel like the people who are paying me $25 million are actually going to do something with it, as opposed to just letting them sit around and gather dust. You know what I mean? It's just one of those situations where it's not her toy, and Scooter gets to choose who he lets play with them next, I guess is the best way to put it. Now, the strategy she has is to re-record her first 6 albums. Oh, yeah, I was right. Yeah, the first 6. Taylor Swift, Speak Now, Fearless, Red, 1989, Reputation. Okay, I had him right. It was 6. And she pretty much wants to re-record them because it goes on to say that with her first contract, she actually has the ability to veto certain things. Basically, Swift can... Oh, I'm sorry. By re-recording and re-releasing these albums, Swift's intent is to undercut Shamrock's investment and reduce the value of those old masters while creating more value for herself. The simplest way to do this is to deny uses of those old recordings and only approve uses of her new recordings once they are ready. Swift can do this because she controls her publishing through Universal Music Publishing Group, and has the right to veto any potential quite lucrative uses of her music in movies, TV shows, commercials, and video games. She could even prevent use of her original masters on newer streaming services like Twitch, which currently has no label licensing deals and must take down any copyrighted content at the right of the holder's request, or the next generations of platforms like TikTok, which all require licensing deals as well. And because of her big machine contract, she's now at the point where she can re-record all of her old stuff as early as November this month. And she's promising plenty of surprises are in store. She says she's recently began the process. But, as the article goes on, it pretty much addresses certain concerns that, people like myself and other fans have. It's like, she's a 30-year-old megastar. She's no longer going to sound like the hungry and empathetic teenager she was back when she sang 15. I don't know. I mean, she might do the better job of imitating like a 1989 era Taylor Swift, because that was at a point where she was really making that transition into adulthood in her music. And I mean, I hate to just quote the article constantly, but it really says what I want to say. How will she drive listeners to stream the new versions of her songs when classics like Blank Space from 2014 has nearly 2.7 billion views on YouTube and more than 436 million Spotify plays? While her passionate fans have pledged to support her here, one tweet said, "We all will be deleting all of her old music from our playlist and apps and will only be streaming the re-recordings by Taylor." The answer, as always, really comes down to money. Swift will need her powerful label, Universal Music Group, to aggressively market her new recordings through advertising, social media, and search engine optimization. When a Spotify user or even one of her Spotify owned curators adds a Swift hit to a playlist, she wants them to choose the new recording, not the old one. So basically, like, the 2020 version of You Belong With Me is the song that will be put on streaming services, not the one from like 2012 or whenever that song came out. Look, I bring up that song because that's one of my favorite Taylor albums. I ain't gonna lie. When I was in Walmart a couple of days ago, I saw in the vinyl section, what was it? Because I actually have it sitting right beside me on my shelf. It was Fearless, the deluxe edition, which I believe is a 2 vinyl pack for $22. I bought it because I feel like I have most of her albums already. Lover, I got at Target, and then from Walmart, not at once, but like if I'm pushing the cart around and I happen to come across it, I'll buy it. The first album, Taylor Swift, I got Fearless, I got 1989, then I just said I have Lover. The only ones I think I don't have are Red and Folklore and Speak Now. Those are the only ones I think I don't have. But yeah, I mean, my thing is, I'm a fan of the original because I was growing up when, with the music. Didn't she drop our song in like 2006 or something like that? So yeah, I think I was either just starting high school when that song came out, and like I really rock with her. I love her early documentaries, like shoot, I think it was the one she did for Fearless. It was like a documentary. I love music, and these were during the days where I first started dabbling in songwriting, and I just love listening to her story and her music. So I mean, I'll listen to her re-recordings just to kind of compare, but when it comes down to it, I would rather listen to the original. And like for people saying they delete the songs, I know it sounds weird, but you can't really you can delete a song, but you can't delete a feeling. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be moved by her re-recordings, but I don't know if they'll capture that same magic. But that's just me. Like, I get it, the re-recording, the strategy, but I feel like they mentioned, it really comes down to money. Like, there was another portion of this article that really did a good job of breaking things down by using examples of other artists who have, re-recorded music of their own, but it did not have that same level of attention. Here we go. Artists including Def Leppard, Squeeze, Blue Oyster Cult, I no idea who these are, and JoJo, yeah, I know JoJo, have re-recorded their originals over the years. And while some of JoJo's newer material has generated big streaming numbers, none of these re-recordings are major hits. Then again, none of these acts are the world's biggest pop stars, and they haven't come close to matching Swift's ability to generate sales, streams, and attention. Now, that I actually agree with, because like every time she puts out an album, it like breaks some sort of record. I mean, it has like to me, like, whenever Taylor Swift drops something, I'm not trying to compare which artist is better, but when it comes to a piece of work dropping, it's like the same level of a, Michael Jackson, in the sense that it breaks some sort of record. Like, oh, the most streamed debut song from a female album. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Folklore recently break Whitney Houston's record for like being the longest top charting album from a female artist on Billboard. Folklore did that. And again, it's not about saying, oh, music, today ain't like it was back in the day. I'm just talking about the facts about what records have been broken. And yeah, Taylor Swift, when she drops something, there's some sort of record. Oh, the most viewed, music video on YouTube, or, and I think Ariana Grande did similar feats with Thank You Next. But, overall, like, I wish her the best. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, when it comes to musical artists, because I've had some interesting discussions with people on, the comment section of like, certain videos. I know the Breakfast Club talked about this. Charlamagne was breaking it down how, it's just business. At the end of the day, these aren't her masters. I mean, she could do what she wants with the re-recordings, but it's business. Like, and I agree. Like, I mean, Prince, he was talking about this, but he signed a contract with Warner Brothers. New Edition, they signed bad contract after bad contract. TLC, what was it? Pebbles did them wrong. But at the end of the day, that's how it is. When you sign on the dotted line, it's like, that's the importance of, having lawyers and, people to read over these contracts. And sometimes don't always sign the first deal you get. I mean, Taylor Swift, I know in the documentary, she said when she was a young kid, she had her parents, drive her around Nashville, going to radio stations and record labels and giving them a tape. And she actually turned down her first record deal. And then she got together with the guy behind Big Machine, because Big Machine wasn't even a thing at the time. But he was like, hey, if you believe in me, like I believe in you, then I really feel like we can create something great together. And they did. Despite the controversy going on now, Big Machine would not be Big Machine without Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift wouldn't be Taylor Swift without Big Machine. But, these things happen. So, one of the conversations I was having with someone was the fact that, think about it this way. When you're an artist, when you're trying to become a big artist, more often than not, you're going to do whatever it takes to get that success. Like, when most people sign their, well, for a lack of a better phrase, their life away, at least until the contract is over, they don't always think about the publishing, the song. I think that was one of the biggest selling points for Taylor Swift's first deal, which she turned down because she wasn't allowed like creative freedom to write her own music and everything. They were wanting her to do what was being written for her, but Big Machine gave her that freedom. But with that freedom, unfortunately, the masters didn't come along with that. Plus, it goes without saying that without the Big Machine, or what Scooter bought, or, originally, Taylor Swift's catalog was the biggest thing about, you had like Reba and a few other people, but Taylor Swift's catalog was really the only one of substantial value. So it's one of those situations where some people are like, yeah, this was Taylor Swift's strategy to re-record the music. So Scooter figured that, well, I might as well sell these masters while they still have some value before she re-records everything and diminishes the value of the masters that I have. Hence why he sold them to Shamrock. But, I do believe it was stated that Taylor said that Scooter originally gave her an opportunity to own the masters, but only if she re-recorded new albums. So what was it? 6 masters, which she's trying to get 6 albums. She would have to put out 6 additional albums with Big Machine. And for each new album, she would gain the rights to one of her masters. That's pretty effed up. But, again, that's business. It's not always pretty. It's not always allegedly fair. But again, what it really comes down, it doesn't matter how you feel as a fan or whatnot. Oh, she should have them. It's business. That's all it comes down to. It's just like I'm trying to think. It's like the Spider-Man deal. Everybody up in arms about Sony versus Disney / Marvel over the use of Spider-Man in the MCU. It doesn't matter how we feel as fans. As Aaron Burr was saying, in the room where it happens, like that's what it boils down to. The people who make up the contracts, make the deals. We are only the consumers of what is brought out from the room when the doors are reopened. We weren't the ones that signed the contract. What? But then again, it's like Beyonce has her fans, Taylor has her fans, Drake has his fans, and so on and so forth. But we are just the consumers. Hence why I try not to let these things get to me, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who owns her masters. It's not going to affect me personally. All I know is I like her music. Folklore wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't think it was a bad album, but I could just tell, like, this isn't my genre. So, I'm not really going to listen to it again. But, Lover had some good songs on there. And Reputation, again, not my cup of tea. But I love a lot of her early albums. So I feel like for me personally, I hope the biggest takeaway from this, Taylor Swift master fiasco is for up and coming artists and whatnot, just make sure you read the contract. And at the end of the day, even if you don't want to sign originally, the first draft, renegotiate, talk about potential changes, say like, hey, at the end of this contract, if there's enough success to deem, us continuing our working relationship, is there a way to own the rights for, like, hey, if my first 2 albums do well, like when we do another contract, what about albums 3 and 4? Can I own, the masters to those, or could I have more publishing ownership or the ability to write more, that kind of stuff? Like, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but it's just like these are my takeaways from this story. And then of course the New Edition story. And how many times have I watched episodes, or you've watched episodes of like Unsung, Behind the Music, Where Are They Now, one hit wonders and things like that, especially during like the Motown days and whatnot. They would talk about how, Berry Gordy, man, he would pay us peanuts and this and that. But back in those days, the record industry, they can pretty much get away with murder because Motown was the spot. Like, if you wanted to make it in the business, Motown was the place to go. So just like I was saying earlier in the video, when you're hungry, when you're starving for success, you're willing to put up with certain things just to get your name out there. But what does the fame even matter if you're not even living better than like working a minimum wage job? Yeah, people know your name, but if you can't buy a value meal but you're off the dollar menu, is it really worth it? Just like, again, another random example, like what was this, Jason, Trini, and Zach from the original Power Rangers. They talked about how they walked away from the show because they were not being compensated properly based on the strenuous hours that they had to put in. Like, I think Austin St. John said in an interview once, like, I'm not saying I'm trying to be a millionaire or anything, but back in those days, like, I was still living out of my car. I was making like the same amount of money I would have been making if I was working at Burger King or something like that. So it's just one of those things where you don't be blindsided by opportunity. Like, jump at it, but at the same time, jump in it with caution. Make sure that you understand what you're getting into when you sign the paperwork. Make sure there are opportunities. It's like, I think Michael Bivins said this in a Breakfast Club interview, or even, he's like, before you sign the dotted line to get into the business, make sure you understand how you can get out. Like, if there are any loopholes or things like that, or once again, the importance of renegotiation, because the first deal isn't always the best deal. It's just to kind of give you a guideline of what we can offer you and ask the right questions. So again, I'm not in the music industry. I'm not an expert, but I'm not just going to sit up here and get angry like, oh, these are Taylor's masters, because they're not. Yeah, she wrote the songs and everything, but they aren't hers. So I do wish her the best, though. I'll give the re-recordings a chance, but I'm not going to like delete the original songs from my playlist or burn my CDs and what. Well, why the hell will I do that? I mean, they still got my money that I paid for it, so who cares? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What other artists have said their story? And like I said before, Taylor isn't the first, and she won't be the last to deal with this kind of situation, but I mean, like the article said, she has the star power. So I feel like her fans will show up and show out and blow up the numbers. But it's going to be pretty dang difficult because those first recordings are classic. So we'll have to see if she puts like a new spin on them or what she can do. I'm very interested to see how this turns out. So are there any other, pop culture or different news stories you want me to give my 2 cents on? I don't know if they'll all be 20-minute videos, but if it's something where I feel like I have something I want to share, then I'll do videos on it. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell. And if you would like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month.